Hello, good morning and welcome back to CatersGraphix. Today we'll be learning the selection and direct selection tool, and if you are done with that early, we'll get to the pen and curvature tool. So let's get right into it. So here we'll be taking a simple example for today's tutorial. I have the same tutorial on my YouTube channel. I will send you a link, or a link should be in the description of this video. If you get to YouTube, you can watch the part 1 of it. So this, I will say, is the part 2 of the direct selection tool and the selection tool. So with this being understood, I would like to make you understand that these two works in hand with some other features in Illustrator or some other tools in Illustrator. Okay, but let's dive into the raw design. And I know why I'm doing this with this particular design and brand I'm running for a client. I'm doing it so you understand how it works with a logo. Last time we did it with a vector shape, a star shape like that, but this time around we're working with some of these shapes. Okay, so let's first create a new artboard. Just draw an artboard and we can make this color black. I told you how to make the artboard color. Select the rectangular tool and you draw along the lines you want, then you can change the color to whatever you want. But that's not all. So if we make it black, what you need to do is click Ctrl and 2. It will lock that. It's no longer movable again. Okay, but if you don't lock it, it's movable. So let's say it's not locked now. Ctrl Alternative Z. Okay, it's not locked now, so I can move it around, and it doesn't make sense probably if you want to work on a project and you want to select this thing, it will be selecting something else. So we lock it. You know what happens if you are locked? You don't move. Lock. So we'll be using this one particularly to do this exercise. So I send this here. You see we can't see it anymore because it's in the back of that shape. So what you're gonna do is arrange them, bring to the front. So now we have our shape, and let's start learning. So this is the selection tool like I told you in the other tutorial, and this is direct selection tool. What the selection tool does basically is to move all shapes that are grouped. Okay, what the selection tool does, it moves. What am I doing? Okay, it moves, it selects everything that is one, everything that is one. So if you are grouped just like a family, you are one. So the selection tool, what it does is, once you click on any of the shape, even if it's this small one, you click on it, you select everything, then you can move it around. Okay, that's what the selection tool does. But totally opposite to what the selection tool does is the direct selection tool. The direct selection tool selects only a part which is separate from the others. Okay, so this part can separate it from the others, but that doesn't mean after it's separated from the others you can still use the selection tool to move all of them around. So whenever you click on selection tool again and you click on it, it selects everything again. I hope this is understood. Very good. So with that being noted, let's go ahead and dissect more of the selection tool features. Okay, very good. So now if for instance I select everything that this shapes relies on, let me say the family of this shape, if I select everything and I simply don't want all of it to be selected, what you're gonna do is use the direct selection tool and select the part you want. Okay, see what I did? I selected only the part I want by what? Dragging. Instead of the other way to do that is holding the shift key and clicking on it one after the other. So now that is for the direct selection tool. Now we have understood that the selection tool, this is the function. Okay, now we are going to draw another shape. Want to practice more about the selection tool specifically. So we have drawn another shape and is still in this same layout. let me say this artboard. So now we select the selection tool. It doesn't select this because this is a new shape that is not in the same circle with this. Let me show you what happens when you get to the layer. This will be very difficult for you to see because this also comprises of all these other designs. Okay, so if you want to know what you are working on particularly, use the selection tool, click on it, then you can find the group where it belongs. This is the group. Okay, if I don't click anything, you don't see that blue icon over here. Let me zoom closely, you see. So when you select, you see the blue icon over here, then you click, you can see every particle that is related to that group. Okay, so that is for that. Now this is the selection tool. When you don't want the selection tool to function this way, remember we are talking about selection tool with a particular group, what you're gonna do is you can either ungroup this by clicking option and click on group. It's totally ungrouped now. You can see here there's no group it's relying on unless it's subgroups, because there are subgroups that you just have to also ungroup again before they work that way. So we say it's now ungrouped. As you can see, now it is ungrouped. You can now use the selection tool to pick any part out. They are no longer the same, and you can also use the direct selection tool to do the same. Okay, so that is for the selection tool. Another way to do that is by selecting, if you want to group or ungroup again, by selecting everything you want to group and go to property, and here you can see group down here. Okay, click on group, automatically it's grouped. So now the selection tool can do its function again. Very good. So since you have understand the selection tool, let's also do one more practice with the selection tool. When you have the selection tool held, clicked, you see this box shape around it, and you see these little dots at this little connection dots at the edges of each angle, or even at the middle of the angle. So this dot means you can easily drag these stuffs to any extent you want. See what's happening? You can also drag it like this. You see what's happening? You can drag it around. But the problem with this is, if you just do this like this, you see what is going on here? It will reshape it to the size and make the logo look as if it is not actually what you designed. So to avoid this, what you're going to do when you want to use the selection tool, you hold the shift key in your keyboard. Then you can now drag. It will maintain the same ratio. It will maintain the same size or the same aspect ratio of the vector shape while it expands the size. Okay, so holding the shift key helps me a lot, so I don't lose confidence on dragging. But in Photoshop, it's a totally different ball game. Okay, so in Photoshop, you don't need to hold onto that shift key. You just drag and it maintains the same size. In the opposite, if you hold the shift key, it will now scale it to a way you don't like. So that is for that. So now we have understood totally what the selection tool works for. Now we'll go to direct selection tool. What direct selection tool does is this: it allows you to use the anchor points in the inline of the vector shape, which means this anchor point at this angle, we can now reshape it. You see what's going on there? We can reshape whatever we want to reshape. You see what's going on? See, so that's what the direct selection tool does. One of the functions, when you click on a shape, it gives you the capacity or the ability to, you know, tweak around stuffs. You know, when we used it on creating logos with text, this is exactly the same thing we did. So that is it. That is for that. Another thing the direct selection tool does is it gives you the opportunity to click on a point. Let me not use that as an example. Let me use this as an example. If you click on these points, you see this particular point becomes blue and these other ones are white, which means this one is selected as a priority. So when we drag, we can now scale to whatever size or whatever shape we want. We can still do the same thing here. You see, So this is why I call this the second version of this tutorial, because I never taught this on the first one. The second thing you can do with the direct selection tool is dragging and selecting a particular part. Okay, drag and select a particular part. So you select the two parts, then you can click on any of that part and you can expand it to whatever shape you want to do. Okay, so if you drag a particular part, you can now expand. So let's take, for instance, this as an example. We drag this particular part, we want to expand it. What you are going to do is to just drag up. Okay, but if you don't do that, if you come here and say you want to drag up, it will be dragging and scaling that particular anchor point. There is a difference between an anchor point and shape angle. Okay, an anchor point you can know with the curvature tool. Let me delete this. An anchor point is a point of reference, a joint, a connection between one point to the other. Okay, this is a circle curve, but there is a place where it ends. This is the place. Okay, so this is an anchor point. What it does, it allows you tweak around stuffs. Okay, so that's what else the direct selection tool does. If you select particular angle, it won't consider the anchor point. It will move that particular shape according to what it is. Okay, according to what it is. So but if you don't select, if you don't drag and select all parts, if you just want to select that particular side, it will take up the anchor point and now allow you to reshape whatever you want to reshape. So guys, that is it for today's tutorial. If you have any question about the selection tool or direct selection tool, you just ask in the comment section, either in the group or in YouTube. I learned some of you keep saying the tutorial is very clear to understand, that's why you don't have question, but that's not an excuse. Okay, trying to practice. If you try to practice, you'll find difficulties, then you ask questions. So with that being understood, till we meet again for our next tutorial, which will be on the pen or curvature tool. Stay safe and remain blessed.